you not learning that when you listen to the news? Taxation without representation. We're getting an opportunity to get some representation back in here coming up this November. So if the news isn't enough to put the fear of God in you to go vote, I don't know what is. My name is Gilbert Carmona. I'm an enrolled agent. I'm a financial advisor, a financial planner. I prepare tax returns based on your individual financial information, and I give you advice on what it takes to keep and grow your money. That's my calling in life. Tommy, little Uncle Tommy, is that what they used to call you? They used to call you Tommy? We were having a whole conversation here before the program. My engineer this morning, little Tommy. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I am an enrolled agent. What is an enrolled agent? A person enrolled with the IRS. My license comes from the IRS. I represent taxpayers. I am a tax expert, a tax professional. What else can I say, Tom? I am a tax whatever. I'm supposed to know everything about taxes that there is to know. Let me just say that. But the way they keep changing these laws, I'll tell you, I spend so much time just staying up with it. And we are in for some changes. I'm going to talk about some of those changes and some of the things that are coming. That's the purpose of the program. If you need to reach me, we do tax returns. We do tax issue resolution. We handle all kinds of tax problems. We do financial planning. We do investments. If you need to reach me, my telephone number is 828-289-9300. And I am here this morning to announce that we are receiving clients at our new location, 704 Oak Street. The former Carter Bank building is now the new home of Carmona Financial Consultants. We are DS Signs and Graphics has made our sign. We've ordered it, and we've been assured we will get it soon. That's the most commitment that we can get from the suppliers. Yes, soon. I think they even wrote that on the proposal. Delivery date, soon. They're going to make a nice banner for us, though, to put there in the place. So we hope to have that up real soon. We are at 704 Oak Street. You know what that means, Tom? That means we have 3 locations now. 3 locations, 704 Oak Street in Forest City, right at the old Carter Bank, which a lot of people said to me, what Carter Bank? I said, exactly. That's why they closed. Nobody knew they were there. It's just a bank. It used to be, the building was built in 1978, and it was a First Union, and then Carter Bank acquired them as a part of an acquisition. They picked up all kinds of banks all over the place, and our little building here in Forest City was one of them. And I've had very few people ever, because when I do a tax return and you're getting a refund, you have your refund direct deposited. That's what the IRS recommends that. Everybody recommends that. It's the fastest, easiest way to get your refund. Direct deposit right into your bank account. So in the 20 whatever years I've been doing this, I think I can count how many times people told me they had Carter Bank. And I asked somebody, why do you bank there? And they said, well, back in the day, back 20 years ago, they offered free checking. And if you remember, back in the late 90s, that was a thing. If you got free checking, boy, you had it on. You were that, oh yeah, because everybody charged for it. And back then it was, $10, $15, which was $10, $15 in 20-year-old money. That was a lot of money back then. Yeah, so they had free checking. Oh yeah. Somebody told me they were a little outdated, though the building really needed to be completely remodeled. We ended up literally gutting the entire building. It was just old tech, just old. Everything was old. Not anymore. It is fresh. It is new. It is beautiful. Please come see me, 704 Oak Street, right next to Big Dave's. Used to be the Carter Bank building. We're really excited to be there. So it took us about 9 months to remodel it. We actually bought the building last year, and I thought I was going to be moved in by December. Oh, Tom, was I naive? I was just so naive. I thought we were going to be in there by December, and we were going to be ready to start tax season. As a matter of fact, when I ended the show, when we took a break, I said, we're going to have some big changes coming, and no, there were no big changes. We went into January, and we were nowhere near being in there, and we finally ended up getting in there end of May. So we're there now. We're already receiving clients there. We are really excited about it. So when you make an appointment, you can come to 704 Oak Street, or we still have our office at 113 Whitesides Road, right up the street here from the studio in Rutherfordton, and we still have our office at 226 South Trade Street in Tryon, which, Tom, is the beautiful Art Deco building right off the historic downtown Tryon. And one telephone number can get you an appointment at all three offices. That's 828-289-9300. And I didn't welcome everybody listening to us this morning, www.wcab59.com. Those of you live streaming, good morning. There's a whole bunch of people that can't pick up the radio station. They don't get the signal, especially the people out there in Polk County, but they do watch us live. Tom, do you believe that? Here in the blue room, and I'm wearing my blue tie this morning to accommodate the blue room. I know, I look fabulous, Tom, thank you. It's the hair. It's the hair. I want to talk about, I get up on Saturday mornings and I have all these notes and I've made all this stuff from the day before during the week, and I always come in here and say, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Let me recap some of the things I talked about last week, and I'm going to jump into it. Actually, let me go ahead and jump into the first thing. So I ended the program last week by talking about the IRS's 87,000 employees that they're going to hire. And you remember, Tom, I said, all I want to know is what is truth, because it's really getting a lot of media coverage and a lot of people are very concerned about this. And it's being put out there that now that they have this $80 billion or whatever money they got, they're going to hire 87,000 agents, give them guns, and they're going to just send them out to raid people. And they're just going to like come kick your doors in. Okay. And I always ask people, well, what are you afraid of? What are they going to come do to you? Well, they're going to come and take my stuff. It's like, can tell me a little more? What is your concern about this? And I talked about it a little bit, and some people actually that listened were like, are you serious? You're not worried about this? It's not that I'm not worried about it, because I'm a conservative. I always worry about government growth. I always worry about a big government. The whole reason the men that founded this country created a constitution and created the laws they created was to have a small government. And how does it begin? We the people, right? The people had the power. That's what they wanted. They had left an autocratic, bureaucratic, whatever you want to call it, theocratic. I mean, most of these guys were from England. They grew up there. A lot of them were from London. They were right under that whole system. And with the classes and you had poor people and rich people and very few in between, and they knew what that was like, to have no power, to have no authority, to just have elitist, wealthy people control the police and the military and the sheriffs and the constables and whatever you want to call all them people, and they just, whatever they told you to do, you did it, you had no choice. They came over here and they said, it's not going to be. We're not going to do that in this country. We're going to do this different. Were they flawed men? Yes. Did they make mistakes? Yes. But what they set in motion is still here. So that says something. That speaks something to it of what they had. And one of the signers of the Constitution said, our laws are for a moral and religious people. So if you have a people that's not moral and not religious, this isn't going to work for them. It's for a moral and religious people. And there's a scripture, let me go ahead and get to it. The scripture I've had about this is Romans 13. And Paul is talking to the Romans. Don't forget, the Jews were controlled at that time, were controlled by the Roman Empire. They were, even though Israel was their land that they had, that they were self-ruling, the Romans came in, took them over, and they submitted to Roman authorities, and a lot of them wanted to rebel. And a lot of them thought that when Jesus came, he was going to overthrow that Roman Empire. And when that didn't happen, a lot of them didn't understand what was going on. But he told them, Romans 13:3, civil authorities are not a terror to people of good conduct, but to those of bad behavior. Would you have no dread of him who is in authority? Then do what is right, and you will receive his approval and condemnation. For he is God's servant for your good. And if you do wrong, you should dread him and be afraid, for he does not bear and wear the sword for nothing. He is God's servant to execute his wrath, punishment, vengeance on the wrongdoer. So, if you're not doing anything wrong, why fear he who carries the sword? Now, I know there's been a lot in the news where a lot of innocent people have been accused of a lot of things, and there's been a lot of wrongdoing. I mean, I can go back, and it's not just in this administration. This is nothing new. You know, I can go back, to Ruby Ridge. Innocent people were killed by police, also issuing a search warrant. But you can go back to the colonial times. Innocent people were killed by the police. So I don't have an answer of what we need to do, but it is a time to seek God, and it is a time to ask God to show us what to do. But to be afraid of this, to have this fear, don't. And I constantly, a lot of people come in and say, well, I don't want to do anything that's gonna raise a red flag. And those of you that listen to me for a long time know I hate that. I don't want a red flag. Well, if we're doing right, if we're following the tax code, and I'm doing your tax return correctly, and I'm putting down deductions that are legitimate, because I don't do anything in secret. I don't fill out your tax return in a back room and bring it out to you. My clients, you guys know, we go over it. We work it together. We're doing this together. You tell me what you did. Now, for people that get 2 W-2s and we do a tax return, that's basic. But for people that are self-employed, that have their own businesses, it's always a challenge. And it really is a challenge. And we're in an environment of laws changing. There's new technology. There's new information. Things are moving very fast. It's hard to keep up with. But what we always try to do is we always try to stay up with what's current, up with what's happening with the tax laws. As a matter of fact, I'm going to talk about a couple of new changes, or not really new changes, but a couple of cases that I've worked through tax court and how we're interpreting those changes and what we're doing with those changes. One of them is talking about the exclusion. The other one is talking about that $10,000 SALT cap. I'm going to get into all that later. It sounds like complicated stuff, but it's really not. It's really simple. It's there. The law's there. We're going to follow the law. And if we do right, we do right. Now remember, and I've said this many times, and I'll probably say it every program, most tax audits are random. You are randomly picked. Now, there are some things that if it's an outlier, what's called an outlier, every year, you donate to your church, and I'm just using this as an example. Don't say, oh, Gilbert said that this is a red flag. No, this is an example. Every year you're a tither that you give to your church, and you give to your church every year $5,000. Okay, pretty much $5,000, $6,000. I've seen people give regularly to the church way more than that. You get an inheritance, you get a windfall, you get something, and you give your church $30,000, or your 501c3, whatever your charity of your choice is. You give them $30,000 or $40,000, or you make a one-time large gift. I have seen that, and that's not in normal keeping, but that's actually statistically in proportion not correct. You may get a letter saying, please explain this. You know what we do? You know what we do, Tom? We explain it. We write them a letter. We explain it. And you know what? It goes away. We can prove it. We document it. We have the evidence. This is what we did, and this is why we did it. And you know what they'll say? Oh, okay. I've actually had auditors say to me after they get my information, oh, okay, I'll notate the system. And that's it. It goes away. I've got a story. I don't know if I've told it recently. I've told it before, but I've got a story where a man came to me. He inherited a lot of money. And what happened is everybody in his family inherited, but there was a question about the nature of the inheritance. Some of the family said, and I'm talking a lot of money, I'm talking 7-digit money, okay? Not 40 or 50,000. I'm talking about a lot of money. So there was a question where some family member, their tax people said, "Oh no, that's all taxable," and a couple others said, "No, that's not taxable. It's this, this, this." So this man came to me, specifically came to me. Somebody referred him to come to me, and he gave me the information, and I said, "No, that's not taxable, and this is why." And I showed him the law of why it wasn't taxable, and he said, "Okay, let's go ahead and do it." So I did his tax return. I prepared it, sent it off, and 3 months later, he gets a letter from the IRS saying, and the way they word it really intimidates people. It says, "We think there's a mistake on your tax return, and you owe us $300,000. If you disagree with this, let us know." So he calls me right away, as he should. And it just comes, it's a letter. It's not certified mail. It's not a phone call. It's not, there's not a warrant for your arrest. It's a letter. And it says, please respond. They give you 30 days to respond. And if you don't respond to that first letter, then there's a second letter where they say, well, you didn't respond, so we're going to assume that we're right. You owe us this amount of money. And you have 90 days to deal with that. If you don't deal with that 90-day letter, now you really have a problem. We need to deal with it, though, with the first letter. So I sent them about a 5-page response. I sent them, the law, everything, sent it all to him. And a month later, he gets a letter, and all the letter said is, we've received your documentation. Based on your information that you sent us, you owe $0. So he called me, and he said, is that it? I said, yes, that's it. He goes, well, that was simple. I said, yes, it is simple, because we did the right thing. So he called all his family member that their people, their accountants, their CPAs, whatever, their EAs, whoever they had gone to, tax attorneys, told them that it was taxable, they owed money, and told them what happened. They were all calling me. Can you help me? I said, no, go back to your person and tell them. I told them what to do. No, I don't know. You go to your people and have your people fix that. And you can fix that. You can amend. It's simple. It's in the law. So we're not going to fear who is in the law. But let me get back to it. I know I'm going into my break time, Tom, but just bear with me. I want to keep going here. The IRS is going to hire 87,000. They're going to hire 87,000 employees. They're saying they're going to hire 87,000 auditors. That's actually not what's going to happen. The IRS is grossly understaffed, grossly, because there's been kind of a hiring freeze at the IRS. They've only been hiring really essential people to maintain positions, but they've had their budget cut so much. They've had their budget gutted since 2012, and they are really understaffed. I don't know how many people they need, but most of the positions at the IRS are not gun-carrying auditors. Most of the positions at the IRS are like clerical staff people that are going to sit there and manually input data. They run the computers, they handle the IT, they handle just the daily work, and most of them are on the phone. IRS has one of the longest hiring periods also. It takes them an average of 106 days to hire an employee. That's a pretty long time, even for the federal government. That's a pretty long time. So they're going to hire these people. It's going to take them 3 months to actually get them in the door. And then the IRS takes anywhere from 3 months to 2 years to train people. Before an auditor actually will knock on your door, like a physical auditor will knock on your door to talk to you, he's been with the IRS for at least 2 years. That's an average. And the only department in the IRS that carries guns, the only department that carries guns is criminal investigation. Okay? That is the only department. Let me say that again. That is the only department. And they're not going to arm all these auditors. I mean, I know a lot of these auditors. I know several of them that I know would not carry a gun. And we've had this conversation. So that's not what they're in it for. That's not the job they signed up for. And an interesting note, and I kind of said it real quick last week, but we're going to take a break on this. The IRS, of all federal agencies, the IRS has the highest incident of accidentally discharged guns. Yeah, that they report. Can you imagine the ones they don't report because they're too embarrassed? But yeah, accidentally discharged guns, they of any federal agency. So before I'd worry about an auditor shooting me, I'd worry about them shooting each other because, I mean, it's serious. It's not funny. They actually had, there are 24, they found 24 agents that were not properly trained. 48 of them weren't even carrying their guns with them at the time they were audited, and 13 of them had actually had accidental firing incidents on their records. So, you know, it's really being blown out of proportion. The whole thing is really being blown out of proportion. And the last thing I'll say about it, let's go ahead and take our break, is they're anticipating that there are going to be 50,000 IRS employees retiring in the next 10 years. And by the way, all this is over the next 10 years. It's not like they got a check for $80 billion yesterday and they're going to spend it all this week hiring and arming auditors. It's not what's going to happen. It's over 10 years. And they're actually having 50,000. So they're barely keeping up with the replacement. The bottom line is they're having the same problems hiring people as everybody else is. And nobody really, it's not like one of the top 10 jobs working for the IRS. The pay is very low, and it's mostly in high, very expensive metro areas to live, like Washington, D.C. I mean, 111 Constitution, you know, where the IRS's headquarters is, where people work, is one of the highest, most expensive zip codes to live in the United States. Most of the people that work there actually commute an hour and a half to 2 hours a day to get to work because they live out in the suburbs in Virginia, most of them. And so it's not like everybody's lining up for these jobs. Okay, let's go ahead and take that break. And I really just want people to have that peace. Just have that peace and ask God, is this true or not? That's all I want to establish with people. Let's go ahead and take a break. Tom, this is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
Hi, this is Christy. Gilbert and I are excited to announce our new name and location. Carmona Financial Consultants at 704 Oak Street in Forest City. Let us help you with your taxes. Let us help you with your investments. Carmona Financial Consultants at 704 Oak Street in Forest City. Stop by or give us a call at 828-289-9300.
A good sign is good business. Make your business stand out with a professional sign from Dia Signs and Graphics. Successful companies all over the United States trust the team at Dia Signs and Graphics. With 25 years of professional experience, we have the ability to present your company's image in the best light. Not only display signs, but Dia Signs and Graphics can print banners of all sizes. If you need magnetic signs or window and vehicle graphics, call on Dia Signs and Graphics today. We offer a full line of sign products for any event. 3D, sandblasted, storefront, and monument signs are just a part of a complete selection of quality signage. Professional signs and banners to fit any budget. Let your business stand out. Call Dia Signs and Graphics today at 286-4900 or stop by the sign shop located on Main Street in downtown Spindale and check our website for more suggestions at diasignsandgraphics.com.
That was a short break. We're back. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. Those of you live streaming, and we are alive here in the Blue Room. That's why I move around a lot, to let you know that. We're alive here in the Blue Room, and I'm pointing at you, www.wcab59.com. And those of you that pick this up later, thank you. I've actually get phone calls from people that pick the program up later on the internet. They pick it up on YouTube, WCAB posts this later, they pick it up. And those of you that listen to the podcast, it's the audio from the program, basically, on my website, gilberttalkstaxes.com. They go to the podcast there and tune in and listen to it. And thank you for your comments, those of you that like what I have to say. Well, during the break, Tom and I kept talking about this. I said I was going to move on when I got back, but, you know, it's just a topic we just can't seem to let go of. I don't know why. We talked about it. A lot of that money, that $80 billion, that is, I'm even getting confused. It was 79 billion, but 10% of it is going to go. Anyway, that money that's going to go, a lot of that money is going to go just to update their systems. It's estimated that they needed like $500 million just to update computers. Now, I have heard this. I have not seen it, but I have heard this from people at the IRS. Okay, so those of you, because I know somebody at the IRS that listens to my program. I know it. I just know it. Some of you that are listening to my program, call me and tell me if this is truth or not. But I have heard that there are still systems at the IRS running on basic DOS, which for those of you that don't know, we're talking like 1990s technology, and Windows 3.11. Okay, now the reason is these are single-use systems. These are just old systems that do one job. You know, they used to do like check printing, which, you know, they would print a lot of checks. So it's not, you don't need the latest and the greatest. If it works, you know, if it's, what's that old saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So there are a lot of this, but they have just huge amounts of this old technology, and they really need just revamping. And a lot of that stuff, you know, they're running on systems that are 20 to 25 years old. But I'd really be interested in knowing if that's true, that they're still running 3.11 and base DOS, MS-based DOS systems. I mean, I believe it. I could see where it would have an application. So they need that money just to get them technology that's in the last decade. Okay, now let's talk about the deadlines. Before we take our next break, let's talk about deadlines. Well, Gilbert, why are you talking about taxes in August? Because we've got some major deadlines coming up, serious deadlines. September 15th, okay? Mark your calendars. Those of you that have partnerships, you have S corporations, and you have partnerships, you have a tax return due if you filed an extension last March. You get a 6-month extension. And I've actually had somebody call me this week, and they asked me, they said, when is that deadline again? And I said, it's in less than a month. They said, ooh, I better get working on it. Yes, it is September 15th if you filed an extension. If you didn't file an extension, you need to get on it now. Your deadline is today, because if you didn't file an extension, you are late as of March 15th. And the penalty, especially for partnerships, is steep. It is $165 a month per partner. So if you've got a multi-partner partnership or a multi-member LLC that files an 1120S tax return, you better get on it. Now, if you filed an extension, you have until midnight of September 15th. We actually are pretty good on it. We've only got a couple I'm a little concerned about, but we've done a good job this year staying ahead of the curve. But if you haven't done yours yet, you got to get it done, and we are taking on new clients. So if you need somebody to do that tax return for you. Now, there is a whole conversation about if you should you or should you not be an S corporation. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to talk about that next week, because there are a lot of Schedule C filers where you are a single member LLC, and you file your tax return, everything on your personal, including your business, and you may be overpaying a lot of taxes. If you do an S Corp election and become an S Corp, I'm going to get into the details of that next week. Those of you that are on my email list, I'm going to go ahead and put out the S Corp election do's and don'ts. And if you're not on my email list, give me a call, and we'll put you on that list, 828-289-9300. We'll get that information out. The S Corp election. And if you're not an LLC, you may want to have that conversation with me about should you be an LLC. There are major tax advantages to doing that. Now, I say we have that conversation because it's not for everybody. There are scenarios, there are situations where being a sole proprietor is actually better for you. There are situations where being a husband-wife partnership, sole proprietor, is a better situation than creating an LLC or creating a partnership. So it's a conversation. But depending on the amount of revenue you're making, we're talking about saving serious tax money. So we can have that conversation. But if you're already one, your deadline is September 15th. Now, we can create an S-Corp election in 2022 for you. There is a late election filing, and we can go ahead and get you for the whole year. So give me a call, 828-289-9300. We can talk about that. The next big deadline is October 15th. October 15th, and that is for all of you 1040 filers. That is individuals. That is if you filed an extension back April 15th, you filed an extension, you now have till October 15th to get that tax return done. And we're pretty good on those. We are ahead of the curve on those. So we are taking on new clients for that if you need your individual tax return done, if you haven't done it. Now, one thing I encourage, if you did your tax return and you're concerned that it might have been done wrong, okay, you can amend. You can amend. You have up to 3 years to amend for certain credits. You'll lose certain credits. Maybe you didn't claim certain credits, but people make mistakes all the time, and it really is worth opening up that tax return. Tax returns tend to be, I don't know why, Tom, but it's like they do it and then they forget about it. But if you're self-employed, you got a business, or even if you have an 1120, you file an 1120S, you have an LLC, it's sometimes it's good to have a second look. Sometimes it's good to have a fresh pair of eyes look at it and specifically look at some things. Areas I recommend people look at: depreciation. Did you use your bonus depreciation? Did you do Section 179? It's not always the IRS. What about state level taxes? North Carolina and South Carolina tax depreciation at different rates, and they allow different depreciation. So I've had a scenario where doing it one way didn't affect the federal refund. The federal refund stayed, actually the federal tax due. In this case, it generated a refund because they had overpaid. But that number didn't change, but the state number changed. Their tax changed by $5,000 just by changing the depreciation schedule. It didn't affect the federal, but it affected the state. So there's things to look at, and it's worth cracking these things open and look at them. There's no time limit on that. So if you think a mistake was made, get somebody to look at them. We do that. Again, you can give me a call for that too, 828-289-9300. We do tax compliance, tax reviews, and sometimes, and many times, we find nothing. It was done right. It was done good. Sometimes we find some things and it's really not worth. Is it worth amending? No, it's a minor change. But other times we have found major changes. Again, putting more money back in your pocket. Let's go ahead and take the second break. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9.
Hi, I'm Sandra. My husband Peterson and I own Precision Detail and Tint. We invite you to come to our new location at 620 U.S. Highway 64, Rutherfordton, on the corner of Silvers Lake Road and Highway 64. Whether you need specialty detailing for your car, RV, or boat, or window tinting for your automobile, or home or business, we can help you. Voted Best of Rutherford County for 11 straight years, you will know you will get quality work at a good price. Stop by for an appointment or call 828-245-8889. We're open Monday through Friday 9 to 5 and Saturday 9 to 1.
As we get ready for this year's tax season, there's one thought on everyone's mind. Will Gilbert's hair look fabulous this year? Oh, yes, it will. How can I say that? Because I go to Robin Saunders at RSL Salon. Whether it's a good haircut, a pedicure, or a manicure, you can count on RSL Salon. Call Robin at 828-289-9110 because everyone deserves to look fabulous.
We are back. Gilbert Talks Taxes, AM 590, FM 100.9, www.wcab59.com. Thank you for live streaming, all of you. And those of you that are going to watch me later, hello to you. Tom, you need to go see Robin. Seriously, because my hair does look fabulous. Yes, she does a fabulous job. I just love her. And Sandra, we were talking about the window tinting during the break. They actually did my office. They came and tinted the windows there. I was shocked at the difference that made. I mean, I knew it made a difference, and I knew, of course, you're going to tint it, but I was just shocked that it made the glass look so beautiful. It really did. It's a nice look. Yeah, they're a great couple. They do wonderful work. Wonderful work. Okay, I've got 5 or 6 directions I want to go in. Which one do I go into, Tom? Why can't I talk about all this stuff, Tom? Because I am